Again, thank you very much. My name is Jennifer Rehren, and this talk will be a quick teaser about my current postdoc project, which is largely financed by the German Research Foundation. So my talk will be a bit of an example of a development into a spatially explicit analysis coming from a single stock analysis of just fisheries. For this talk, I have to bring you all the way to East Africa, where I did my PhD, more specifically to Chwaka Bay, located on the east coast of Zanzibar. And there again, you see Chwaka Bay. The bay drives an intense multi-gear, multi-species fishery that is stable throughout the year. And in fact, that fishery is a typical small-scale fishery, as you can see here. Fishers apply very low technique fishing methods. And also, it's very typical in that it's data poor. We almost know nothing about the fishery. What we know is that since decades now, fishers perceive decreases in their catch rates, and we have spatial reoccurring spatial use conflicts, mainly induced by the use of the so-called drag nets, which are nets that are dragged in intertidal areas over the seafloor and can damage habitat, but also traps of trap fishers. And in fact, all efforts from the fishing authorities to mitigate this conflict has been more or less fruitless so far. For instance, they implemented or they banned the dragnet's use in the bay, but compliance is zero basic. We have indeed a small area in front of one of the villages where there is no dragnet supply, but that implementation and enforcement has led even to more conflicts. That even went violent in 2014 when I was doing my data collection. So that was the reality when I started. And the idea was that I, the first time, evaluate the fisheries, coming from first a single stock assessment all the way to an ecosystem-based assessment, and then looking at those management options, simulate them that could enhance the situation. We, of course, don't need to talk about the usual candidates such as effort reduction, because in fact, in a small-scale fishery setting, alternative livelihoods are often very scarce. Mesh size regulation also didn't seem viable, but also not, more interestingly, the elimination or reallocation of these so-called dragnet fishing methods, because dragnet fishing is a specific case. They are that's a labor-intensive fishing method, and so they're creating lots and lots of jobs for the community. So at the end of my PhD, basically my conclusion was, well, with the conventional management measures, we can't do anything. But I also asked fishers towards the end in 2016 to sit down with me and create some local action plans. And one of those stood out. It was that I proposed to implement a no-take zone. And they exactly knew where to put this no-take zone. But I thought to myself, I have spatially explicit, in fact, catch per unit of effort data for an entire year from all the different gears. And so I thought, why not moving to a more spatial temporal focused management and support those ideas with quantitative information. And that's bringing me to my current postdoc project, in which in the first part, we are taking the main target species, we model their distribution to get some maps like you see here to find some areas of high abundance that could serve as such no-take zones. And in fact, we have also an overlapping map created, as you see here, the big one where you see the yellow bright spots are indicating those overlapping areas of high abundance that could serve as no-take zones. And I let you guess, or you need to ask me maybe later, whether or not those zones that we found coincide as well with what fishers proposed in 2016. And another step, or the next step in our first part, is to actually bring all stakeholders, again, back in a series of participatory workshops financed by National Geographic. In fact, that hopefully starts next year, where the ultimate goal is not just to foster exchange, but in fact to have an output that synthesizes all relevant information, not just from scientific side, and that is accessible to all of the stakeholders. So that's the idea. And if I caught your attention or your interest, please send me an email. And lots of thanks to my project partners, particularly Dr. Maria Penino, for making this project possible. Thank you very much.